Welcome everyone to today's OpenLM webinar. We are delighted to have every one of you joining us from various corners of the world. My name is Ibrace, Marketing Manager for OpenLM, and I will be your host for this exciting session. We have a fantastic speaker lined up for you today. Abhijit Das, our pre-sales lead, will be sharing valuable insights and strategies on how to minimize the additional cost burden on your organization's IT budget. We encourage you to actively participate, ask questions, and engage with our speaker and fellow attendees throughout the session. So without further ado, I invite you to sit back, relax, and get ready to gain valuable knowledge. Please join me in warmly welcome our esteemed speaker, Abhijit Das. Abhijit, over to you.
Thank you, Brace. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this important webinar on optimize and save cost on software licenses. I'm Abhijit and I'm thrilled to be your speaker for this session. Software licenses are a crucial aspect of any organization's IT infrastructure. They can significantly impact the bottom line and overall operational efficiency. So today in this webinar, we will explore strategies and some of the best practices to help you optimize your software license management and ultimately reduce cost without compromising productivity. Understanding IT spending forecasts is crucial for businesses and organizations to make informed decisions and stay competitive in the ever-evolving technology landscape. Now, here, as per the Gartner report, the global IT spending on software is forecast to grow at 12 to 13% for the next couple of years. So we can see here there are different types of IT spending for which we have the forecast data from Gartner. But for software specifically, we can see that the growth is somewhat around 12 to 13%. And the IT spending will increase in all regions worldwide despite global economic turbulence. Now, when we talk about the software spending, this will include purchase of new software, additional license of existing software, and maintenance or a renewal cost as well. So when we talk about maintenance renewal, we know that software publishers, they typically charge 18 to 25% as the annual maintenance fee of the product license cost. A recent report entitled The Real Cost of Unused Software analyzed data from over 1,800 software titles deployed on 3.6 million desktops. Now, this study was done over a period of 4 years. So the results were staggering. On average, companies are wasting 37% of their software spend, a proportion that would be deemed unacceptable in any other part of the business. In the US alone, this amounts to 30 billion in wasted IT dollars. So there is a hidden cost of unused and underutilized software. And it is important for organizations to get the insights of their usage and identify this unused and underutilized software information. Now, we have seen that the software spending is going to increase in the couple of years. But it's important for organizations to identify the scope for optimization, how we can save the cost. So as per Gartner research, organizations can save cost on software by approximately 30% by implementing software license optimization best practices. And there are basically two ways by which organizations can easily achieve this optimization. So here we can broadly categorize them into two different ways here. First, by implementing admin level controls. And the second is through detailed reports of software usage statistics. Now, when we talk about admin controls, it can be like first, tracking the idle sessions of different applications. And on top of that, doing license harvesting of idle application sessions. So these are basically the two admin controls which any organization can implement, you know. And the second way is using the reports of the license management. So through detailed reports of software usage statistics, we can optimize and try to identify the scope for optimization. Organizations must have some reports to accurately forecast the license requirement. You know, this will allow the organization to ensure that they are not over licensed. At the same time, they are not investing money on something which they do not want. So accurate forecast is very important. Second, another scenario where the licenses can be optimized is when there is a project or a client requirement in the pipeline, which involves procurement of additional licenses for the same application in production. So let's say today we have some certain applications and a new project or a new client request comes in from the business, which involves that you need to use the project team needs to use say these specific applications, and we have the licenses for them. So we need to check whether we can accommodate the new request of the additional, maybe project work or a new client with the existing license inventory. So the license utilization efficiency of the existing software can help us in making the right decision and avoid additional purchase. And the third way here is identifying the unused applications and features or modules that helps in optimization and cost saving, especially during the maintenance, renewal, and subscription purchase. And we will discuss in detail about these different ways of doing the optimization. So we discussed here in the previous slide, using admin controls, we can identify the scope. So here the first thing is idle session monitoring. An opened application session consumes a license. However, it is always not in use. For example, a user may have opened the application A and is not using it anymore while it is still open. Now he starts to work on another application B, leaving the application A in idle state. So OpenLM can detect if the application is in use or it's in idle state. It reports the idle time duration and periods as statistics. So this information serves to make informed decisions on license maintenance and procurement, optimize the license allocation within the organization, and improve license consumption habits and minimize the license hogging. So there are different scenarios when an application session can go idle. The user has forgot to close the application while the desktop is still in use, or as I mentioned, that the user is working on application B while the application A is still open and idling. So no matter if the workstation is in use, the user is still using his computer. There can be a case where the application is actually not in use and it is just lying idle. Or a very common a scenario where the user was using the application actively during his shift ended, and he forgot to close the application. In such cases also, the application is open and hence it is consuming a license, and this is a case where the license is getting wasted. So these are the different scenarios when an application can go idle even though it is open, the license is in use. And OpenLM, as a software license management tool, it can well identify such cases. It can identify if the application is in use or not. Now, how as in the organization this information can help? You can, if you're using a named user license or a standalone or a node lock license, then you can reallocate the same software license to a different user who may have requested the access to the same software, and within the organization you don't have any additional license for him, and you're considering to procure additional license for that particular user. So before going ahead and procure additional license, let's find it out if the existing licenses which are allocated those are in use or not, or they are just lying idle. So that's something which this idle session tracking can help. Now, how do we get this information in the OpenLM reports? OpenLM reports gives us this information in various different reports, whether it is the currently or a real-time license usage report or in the historical license activity report. You know, so OpenLM will give you details like it can track such instances of idle application, and as a license administrator, we can check the idle period details in this report. So here we can see the details of user's application session, its active period, as well as the inactive period. So this information can be useful to check how effectively and optimally the application is used by the end users. Now, once you have the idle time information with you, as a second level of control, you can implement license harvesting. License harvesting is the proactive way to reclaim licenses of expensive applications which are sitting idle on engineers' workstation. The basic license harvesting method OpenLM implement involves two actions. First, it identifies the idle open application session. And second method, it safely releases the license in order to improve license utilization. Right. So there are four methods of harvesting an idle application that OpenLM helps you with. First is your save and close. So here, let's say the user has opened an application, he is using it, and maybe after a few minutes or few hours, the application is lying idle and he's no longer using the application. But there was a project work or there was a file on which he was working. So before harvesting the license or before closing the license, OpenLM will save the user's open project work and it will close the application and return the license back to the pool. And this method of license harvesting works for many critical applications like AutoCAD, SolidWorks, MATLAB, CATIA, ArcGIS, and we know these all are costly engineering softwares. Second method of license harvesting here is suspend and resume. So here OpenLM detects the idle application, it freezes the application and releases the license back to the pool until the license is reclaimed. And this works for all the FlexLM based applications. And as a matter of fact, we know that almost 70% or even more than 70% of the specialty licenses or the engineering softwares, they use FlexLM as a license manager. So for all of them, suspend and resume method of license harvesting by OpenLM is well supported. There is a third method of doing it through agent procedures or custom command. So it is a general purpose license retrieval, not just for FlexLM. It can be used for closing any type of standalone node lock idle application as well. So not only for the floating licenses, but for the standalone or node lock applications as well, we support license harvesting. And of course, there is a manual method or remotely closing the application. This is the manual method where license administrators can remove a license of an idle application manually from the admin interface. So if we club these two things together, license harvesting and the license idle time or the application idle session monitoring. With OpenLM, first you can close the idle sessions. You can track, of course, the idle session and close them. By doing this, the organizations can optimize the usage, and increase the availability and productivity. So you increase the availability of the licenses, and hence you increase the productivity of the teams. Now here we have described how OpenLM actually works, how this license harvesting actually works for both type of applications, whether it is a concurrent or network floating license based application or a standalone or a node lock application. So OpenLM supports license harvesting for different type of applications, whether network or standalone. So here on the left part of the screen, you see this is an application which uses a network license. So it's using one of the network license manager, like maybe a FlexLM based application, DSLS, RLM, LMX, or any of the 70 plus different license managers which we currently support. So OpenLM first, it will monitor the usage of the license. At the same time, it will also check if the application is actually in use or not. So once it detects the idle session, then it will close the application after checking if the usage is high. So the system checks if the application is idle and the overall usage of the license is high. Now, as per the configuration by the administrator for the individual application, it will harvest the license using one of the methods that we just discussed. So it can be done using save and close, suspend and resume custom procedures, or the manual way of doing it. Now, similarly for standalone or note lock applications, which could be using key-based activation license, it can also be harvested if found to be idle. So here, basically, it first monitors the usage of the standalone application. It also checks if the application is actually in use or not, or whether it is getting idle. And once the idle session is detected, then it can close the application automatically. Basically, it kills the application process. So this is how we can harvest not only the network-based application, network license-based applications, but also standalone or note lock applications also. This will also work for the named user application. Now here we also have one important information which is available in the OpenLM reports that again helps the organizations to optimize the overall usage, the overall licenses, and save the cost. So the license utilization chart is a powerful tool for assessing the efficiency of license utilization in the organization. This is especially important for customers who are contemplating the purchase or renewal of subscription licenses. For example, Autodesk subscription license or renewing a license maintenance, for the perpetual licenses. Now here, if we closely look into this chart and into this report, we see there is a parameter called quality of service percentage. Now this parameter is the percentage of configurable required license availability as defined by the license administrator. Now here we have an example. So let's say I've got 146 licenses of CATIA HD2. Okay, I've got a huge pool of licenses. Now I want to check whether we can save some cost on these existing licenses that we have. So here what this report tells me, I have set up or I have selected the quality of service percentage parameter as 98%. So to support 98% of license requests, the organization would require only 125 or 126 licenses, while we have got 146 license in the inventory or in the pool. So having 146 or having procured 146 licenses means that the organization owns almost 21 or 20 redundant licenses. So this information is crucial when considering license subscription renewal or additional license procurement or a license maintenance renewal. So this gives us a very good data in front of us to negotiate with the software vendor, with the publisher, that look, we don't have this much of usage, hence we do not need actually 146 licenses. So if you have got perpetual licenses where you are paying the yearly maintenance, you can cut down the cost on the maintenance. Same time, if you have the subscription licenses and you need to again, purchase a subscription, so you can actually check whether your existing consumption tells you that you need 146 licenses or not. Or at the same time, if you are having a new project request or a new business requirement, wherein you're getting a new project and the organization needs to understand whether they want to whether they have to purchase additional HD2 licenses or not. I mean, just for an example, then we can simply refer to this license utilization report and get this information, and we can share this information with the stakeholders. We can share this direct report, directly with the stakeholders via email. We can schedule this information as well, these reports also. Now let's look into some of the decision-making factors, wherein again we can try and find out some of these, window for optimization. So some of the decision-making factors when we are going for license, perpetual license maintenance renewal or a subscription license procurement, that we can see here. Like for example, in case of perpetual license maintenance renewal, some of the common factors, of course, we have considered that it depends from organization to organization. It will vary, of course, but here are some of the very common ones. Like for perpetual licenses, we know that we do not have to pay the license cost every year. We just have to pay the maintenance cost. And why we pay the maintenance cost? To get support, to get upgrades, to get, new functionalities. Now, here some of the basic factors that we may consider, that any organization will consider is, do we need support? What level of support we need? Is it, premium support or basic level support or professional services? Do we need upgrades of that existing application? A new functionality is required or not? And we also have to understand how much we are currently consuming, as we have seen in the previous report of license utilization, that we had 146 licenses, but as per OpenLM, we are just, we are not consuming all those 146 licenses. We need only 125 or 126. Similarly, for subscription license, um, we first have to check whether there is a business requirement. As per the business requirement, we have to analyze what kind of license model we need to go for, whether a network license will help or a named user license will help, you know, or a note lock license will help us. And then we also have to check the consumption of the existing licenses. Now, here, if we see, considering all the different factors, we have one common factor, which is to understand the consumption. And this is something where we can find the opportunity to save the cost. Let's see how. So in order to explore this opportunity, it is important for the management to have a good insights into the usage statistics. Here is a license usage report in the OpenLM, which tells us the pattern of licenses used over a period of time. So we can check if the usage is high or low to a level which would indicate that we are not, we are maybe we are over licensed for the particular application or a feature. Or if the usage is too high, which in this particular graph we can see, and it is noticed that no licenses are available at certain instance of time, then the next thing to check is whether the licenses are being wasted or not. So there we need to check the idle session reports in OpenLM. So basically here we can see that in this report, we see this is the pattern of licenses used over a period of time. So we have selected everything here, the parameters in the filters, like for which application we want to generate the report, if we want to generate the report for one feature or multiple features, and the time period. So we can select that time duration, and once we click on apply, we get this report. And here we can see that for CATIA HD2 feature, the usage is very high, almost regularly. So these are the times when users will probably get denial. So and there are chances that maybe someone has opened the application and not using it. So the next thing we have to check is the license admin, whether the licenses are getting wasted or not. If wasted in the sense that someone has opened an application and not using it, and it's just simply idling. Because if that is the case, then we can, implement license harvesting, get the license released, and make it available for the next waiting user, so that we don't have any denials here. And that will again increase the availability and productivity of the team, and we can avoid procuring additional licenses. Now, how we can avoid the additional procurement cost? So during the IT budgeting process, we can estimate for new procurement or renewal, but sometimes we are not ready for the burden of untimely additional procurement costs. And there could be different factors: sudden increase of project workload in a particular shift, or a new project work. So in such cases, heat map showing the overview of licenses, the overview of the usage of licenses, basically over a period of 24 hours can help, like what we can see here. So from this report, we see the usage is high in a particular shift of the user. So let's say if at 1500 hours, users complained of non-availability of the licenses, then instead of raising a request for additional license procurement, we can first look for ways to accommodate the load with the existing license inventory. Now, how we can do it here? So if we see the usage is very high during this particular shift of the day, while the usage is quite low. There is usage certainly, but it is very low in the rest of the shift. So how we can, you know, optimize here? By relocating the users to different shift. We can share this report with the senior management or with the stakeholders, and they can plan it in a way that they can either relocate the users to a different shift or organize the project work according to the time period with high availability of licensing. So this information helps in managing applications with global licenses or teams who are working in shift. So this report, again, this can help us immensely to avoid any additional procurement costs. Now, one of the first questions which comes to our mind during the process of license renewal is whether the organization needs a license or not. Now, to answer the question, OpenLM comes up with this report. Here we can get the list of all the unused applications which users have never accessed. So you can select the date range of your choice and generate the report. So the organization, let's say we have maybe 50 different applications. And there we can, there may be some probability that not all 50 applications are in use. Maybe one or two applications have got licenses which were never used in the past. So such applications we can identify, not only such applications, but even such features can also be identified. So in case of engineering applications, we know that features cost is very high, or the module cost is very high for each applications. So we can identify, we can get the list of the features which the organization purchased but never used it. So if there were 10 modules of an application purchase, there could be a chance of some of the modules being never used. So this information gives good scope for cost saving, because just think of a condition where you have got at least 10 licenses of CATIA, maybe CATIA HD2, which were never used. A particular bundle of CATIA HD2 was never used by the users in the past. It's in the last 365 days. So as an organization, we are sure that we can cut down the cost on those many number of licenses which were not used for that application. So this gives a good return on investment if you use the OpenLM. So whatever investment you do for purchasing OpenLM, you'll get a very good return on it if you just use a simple report. So basically, to summarize here, software license management is crucial for optimization and overall license savings on the licenses. Every single procurement that we do, whether it's a license new procurement, or maybe we are going for a renewal or a subscription purchase, it must go through careful due diligence. We must have some information, the basic information which can justify why we are spending even a single a penny on it. So we need to have that data in front of us. We need to check whether we have sufficient business justification, sufficient usage or not. So basically, we need to, it must go through careful due diligence. The complete process of optimization, OpenLM comes up with functionality and out of the box report, which helps immensely. For example, we can, identify scope for cost saving in multiple ways through idle session monitoring, harvesting, forecasting, understanding the usage and tracking the unused application, identifying the unused applications and features. So with this, I would like to conclude the presentation. Thank you so much for listening to me. Now the forum is open for discussion and your questions. So let me see if we have some questions. So yes, one of the question is whether OpenLM can harvest the network-based application licenses. Yes, we can. I mean, we definitely you can harvest such licenses, and we have got multiple ways of doing it. We can use suspend and resume functionality. You can also do save and close for different applications. By the way, if you have any questions, please post it under Q&A section. We have the section now open, so you can type in your questions and we can answer them. Can license harvesting be applied on Azure virtual desktop sessions? Um, well, so right now we are supporting the license harvesting for different applications. The way it works, it basically monitors the process of the application first, and from there it tracks the license usage or it tracks the application usage. There are different parameters for each process of the application, which is then monitored by the OpenLM system. So if for Azure Virtual Desktop, if we can, if the application is running that way, then we can definitely track the actual usage of the application and also the idle period. Okay, there's another question about uh, whether we can schedule and we can download the reports of OpenLM. So yes, all the reports of OpenLM can be downloaded. There is a download button in the interface of OpenLM reports, so you can download them. So you can reports can be exported, reports can be downloaded. You can also schedule them and you can share it with the stakeholders. So scheduling means that let's say you are generating a monthly utilization report. So you just simply schedule these reports of the monthly utilization or whichever report you want to. You can configure it in the system that on a particular day of the week, at what time you need the report and to which email addresses the report will be shared with, and OpenLM system will do the work. Can OpenLM track solid edge? Where can we find instructions or assistance on this? So yes, solid edge application can also be tracked. We can track the usage of solid edge. We can also track the solid edge idle period and harvest them. All right, so I don't see any more questions here. If you have any questions after the webinar as well, please feel free to reach out to us. You can, send us an email with your query. We have the email address here, sales@openlm.com. So any type of query, whether it's related to the technical functionality or any kind of question you may have related to software license management, please feel free to reach us and contact us. So, Ibrace, over to you.
So, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Abhijit, for attending today's webinar. I hope you found this session informative and valuable. I would like to express my gratitude to our speaker, Abhijit Das, for sharing his expertise and insights with us. Abhijit, your presentation was genuinely enlightening and engaging. Before we conclude, please take a moment to fill out the survey we will send shortly. Your feedback is essential in helping us improve and deliver more relevant content in the future. You can also register for a 30 days free trial of OpenLM. This will allow you to explore the features and benefits of our software firsthand. Don't miss this opportunity to experience the power of OpenLM. Lastly, we will be sharing a recording of today's webinar with all the attendees via email, so keep an eye on your inbox for that. Once again, thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your participation and look forward to connecting with you in our future events. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks again. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.